Tomorrow, the ceremony begins. For now, everyone's just kicking back. Except Vidal Leiva. He prefers the shadows. It's where he's been since hitmen ambushed him outside his house in December.
Cuando yo veo que el hombre está desenfundando el arma y me está apuntando, yo alcanzo a levantar la vista porque me lo quiere pegar en la mira. Y él se pone como sonriente, es un hombre como unos 45 o 50 años. Yo voy a encender mi moto. Mi casa está contigua a la calle, está pegada a la calle. Me disparan como a 4 metros. Pensé que era un sueño, digo, a mí, ¿qué pasa? Y solo le hago acá, fue el primer rozón que me dio. El segundo me lo dio en el mero pecho. Y me pongo a rodar en el corredor, en el Porsche. Ellos están disparando. No me queda que salir a la esquina. Me paro y es donde ellos me alcanzaron a pegar los disparos en la espalda.
Es un milagro
Sí.
que no te mataron. ¿Sentías algo físicamente? ¿Sentías dolor?
Tenía ganas de vivir.
Leiva was marked for death. His offense, defending his land, communal Garifuna land, from a guy Leiva says who wanted to take it and sell it. Leiva hasn't seen his wife and 4 kids since the attack.
Si estoy 2 días en una casa o 5 días, tengo que moverme. La cuestión es que ya pagaron el dinero y ahora el que lo cobró y no concluyó su trabajo, lo están presionando para que lo haga.
This ceremony is for a better future, for Leiva and everyone. These last few years, the Garifuna along Honduras' northern coast have been dealt some pretty crappy cards. What's going on that Garifunas like Leiva must live like this, on the run, stalked by assassins? To summarize a complex story, the Afro-Indigenous Garifunas have fished and farmed along the Caribbean since they were exiled here by the Brits and Spanish over 200 years ago. Back then, no one wanted these hinterlands. It's where you came to catch malaria and die slowly. It's all yours, the Honduran government said. But today, the country, one of the poorest in Central America, has woken up to the potential of the Garifuna's long, unspoiled coast, and people are scheming for it. ¿Eso qué es?
Este es uno de los cráteres de la pista clandestina que fue construida aquí por uno de los narcotraficantes que se apoderó de esta zona. Esta es la zona de Vallecito. Es un territorio titulado a la comunidad Garifuna, en la cual el ejército hace aproximadamente 2 años dinamitó.
Ajá. ¿Aterrizaban aquí con avionetas?
Con avionetas. Esta es una zona para aterrizaje de avionetas. Llegaban al mar, bajaban la droga o aterrizaban aquí, cargaban y la llevaban o por el mar o por esta carretera.
Said drugs, coke, weed, are headed for the U.S. Vallecito's remote coastline makes for a nifty transit point. Miriam Miranda says the flights went on for 8 years.
Y nosotros no podíamos acceder a este territorio siendo nuestro, ¿verdad? Y precisamente porque estaban gente muy armada en esta región, en esta zona. Y nosotros pues presionando al gobierno por muchos años, diciéndole, ese es nuestro territorio, está titulado al pueblo Garifuna, por favor libérenlo. Y no lo liberaban, ¿verdad? ¿Por qué? Porque nosotros creemos es que este es un país que es un narcoestado, o sea, que hay colusión por todos lados, o sea, están coludidas la gente del gobierno, mucha gente del gobierno, el ejército, la policía.
That's a strong statement, but years of high-profile arrests in Honduras suggest she may be right. In May, for example, the son of none other than former President Porfirio Lobos pled guilty in the U.S. to charges of cocaine smuggling. The day Miranda and her patrol saw the runway getting rebuilt, they got seen too.
Y fue cuando nos interceptaron, ¿verdad? 4 personas armadas nos secuestraron por como cosas de 3-4 horas. Claro, en ese momento estábamos seguros de que podíamos ser asesinados.
A furtive phone call to a Garifuna radio station saved them. The army moved in. Turns out Miranda is kind of famous. She heads Honduras's main Garifuna association called OFRANEH. It pushes back against the narcos, the ranchers, and lots of others. But Garifunas like Leiva, the guy in hiding, they're small players in this struggle, more vulnerable, forced to live in fear. And to think that just 15 years ago, UNESCO declared the Garifuna culture the world's first intangible heritage of humanity. The Garifuna are a mix of Africans, first brought to the region by slave traders and Carib and Arawak Indians. Their language is mostly Arawak. The UNESCO award was meant to honor and protect their unique identity. But the Garifuna say that never happened. Then, in 2009, things really went south. That year, President José Manuel Zelaya was overthrown. Zelaya had wanted to give land back to small farmers. The army sent him on permanent holiday to Costa Rica. What law and order there was, out the window. Drug gangs upped their operations. The homicide rate soared to 90 out of 100,000 residents, at one point the highest in the world for countries not at war. At first, the U.S. joined other nations condemning the coup, but then it about-faced, abandoning Zelaya.
The United States has been working with our partners in the OAS to fashion a strong consensus condemning the detention and expulsion of President Zelaya and calling for the full restoration of democratic order in Honduras.
That restoration, with the U.S.'s blessing, has ushered in conservative governments that seem to have little affinity for the Garifunas. Travel Honduras' coast and you find several impoverished Garifuna villages, some languishing next to opulence.
Si tú miras, ahí está la malla del proyecto Bahía de Tela. Y el muchacho que está ahí en la caseta alta es uno de los guardias de ellos. Y cuando tú pasas, él trata de pararte para preguntarte para dónde tú vas.
This Garifuna, Roberto Martinez, lives right next to what he calls the stolen lands.
No es fácil para nosotros ver esas tierras ahí cuando han sido de nosotros y se nos lo han quitado injustamente, ¿verdad? Para hacer más ricos a los ricos del país y nosotros pues que quedemos más pobres en los pobres. La primera confrontación la hicimos aquí el 13 de agosto de 2013. Fue una batalla bien fuerte que tuvimos con Bahía de Tela. Trajeron policías, militares y pues nos sacaron las cosas para afuera.
Residents of Barra Vieja live in constant fear of further land grabs, with good reason. Barra Vieja resisted that attempt by sneaking their belongings back in each time the authorities entered for more stuff. It sounds almost comical, but it's not.
Y en esta patrulla esta noche, ¿qué están buscando, mirando?
Nosotros lo único que hacemos en la patrulla es cuidar nuestra comunidad. Hemos sentido amenaza una vez, pero nunca llegaron a hacer lo que tenían que hacer porque nosotros alarmamos la comunidad. Pues ellos venían con carros y camionetas porque lo que querían ellos era quemar nuestras casas y botarlos con la droga. Aquí está la otra posta, esa es la posta de Honduras.
¿Y hay gente en la caseta?
Sí.
¿Ahora mismo?
Sí, ahí hay guardia.
Entonces esto es un stand-off. Ellos quieren enviar un mensaje, estamos vigilando. Y ustedes también.
Así mismo.
Honduras isn't some military base. It's a hotel, a 5-star resort, the first and only on the entire north coast. This is Honduras by day. Hundreds of luxury rooms on 62 acres of beachfront land. The price of a basic room, about $260 a night. The place is seriously swank and legal, says hotel director José Gutiérrez.
La comunidad de al lado que dice que estos terrenos no fueron comprados, sino robados.
Bueno, ahí la verdad es que no tendría mucho que decir porque eso fue hace 44 años y, bueno, primero no había nacido.
Ellos cuentan que todas las plagas de esta bahía son de ellos, sí, en perpetuidad.
Sí, bueno, eso es lo que ellos cuentan. La verdad es que a mí no me consta. Y en la realidad y en los hechos y en los títulos no tenemos nada que ver, así que las asociaciones vienen y van y nunca van a parar. Es una historia del desarrollo en todas las partes del mundo. Siempre va a existir un grupo tal vez con no un entendimiento igual o una visión de qué es un desarrollo.
Gutierrez says Honduras isn't behind the attempted evictions, and he's technically right. It's the government. But who is the government doing it for? For private interests, like hotels. The long-term goal is to attract investors, especially foreign investors. The Garifuna say that's what's happening on a tiny archipelago, an hour off the coast. Here, the government is supposed to pay for basic services on the one island where the Garifuna live, like garbage collection, a boat to ferry kids to the lone school on a neighboring key, even a little hotel for tourists. But the Garifuna say they've been abandoned. Local government reps wouldn't talk to us, but this fisherman, Mario, says officials are trying to drive them out by banning them from free diving for lobster, their traditional way of putting food on the table. To fish, the men now have to go far out into the dangerous open waters. The nearby islands are off limits to them. Most have been privatized.
55 metros de la playa para adentro es privado, ya es propiedad privada. Pero 55 metros de arriba para abajo, hasta donde sube la ola, no es privado. El pescador tiene derecho de llegar, agarrar su sardina. Simplemente si ya te metes adentro, ya estás invadiendo propiedad privada.
Y ustedes pueden pisar la playa.
La playa. Pero aquí no se puede, aquí terminantemente nos prohíben.
Okay, hay guardias.
Sí, los trabajadores es prohibido.
Y si tú dices, oye, pero la ley dice que puedo, ¿qué te dicen?
No, porque ellos tienen su ley.
That idea of having your own private laws is much debated in Honduras these days. The country, with the support of the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank, has been pushing the concept to lure in foreign dough. Zones for Employment and Economic Development, ZEDs in Spanish. In English, model cities. They're like little countries within the country, with their own laws, courts, taxes, and security. Why? Because Honduras is considered so corrupt that outside investors need a firewall between them and, well, Honduras. Sound nuts? Honduras' Supreme Court thought so. In 2012, it ruled model cities unconstitutional. Soon after, then President Porfirio Lobos sacked the justices. To complicate things, the Garifunas aren't just struggling against the government and outsiders. There is confusion, even betrayal, within their own ranks. This is the Banana Coast Project on Trujillo Bay. Like the Endura Hotel, it's a first, a pier for cruise ships. Last year, its first, it brought in 55,000 tourists. This in a place that normally gets just a trickle of backpackers. But also, like at Endura, behind the place lives a whole bunch of unhappy Garifunas. Robbed, says Omar Elvis Lopez, then fenced out.
En primer lugar, se vendieron los previos, luego pues levantaron la tierra, le pusieron niveles y nosotros quedamos abajo. Cuando cae 4 horas de lluvia, tenemos problemas en el barrio.
Por aquí esto se inunda.
Sí, por aquí se inunda, todo se inunda.
When it does, Maria Eloína Zambula is the first to know.
El nivel del agua, aquí ven, aquí tengo el nivel del agua.
Todo esto
Sí,
hundido.
todo eso. Tuve que subir, poner unas sillas a la mesa y sentar a los niños para que para que no se me ahogaran. Aquí ahorita yo ya estoy temblando porque viene un mal tiempo y no sé qué voy a hacer.
Esto que usted mira aquí,
What to do, or even, it seems, who to blame. Banana Coast is here in part because some fellow Garifunas sold their land for it. Yet Garifuna leaders say you can't sell the land, ever, because it's communal.
Pero la compra era ilegal. Porque según OFRANEH, un garífuna no puede vender su tierra. Se tiene que, es comunal.
como Garifuna que soy, no estoy empapado en en esa posesión. No sé, no le puedo explicar eso porque no lo desconozco.
Garifuna leaders admit a lot of their people don't know their land rights or limits, but everyone agrees that Garifunas do hold title to much of their vast communal lands under Honduran law. And it's true the titles are non-transferable, but the titles don't always cover their huge, unused stretches of coastline and forests. The Garifuna leave them fallow on purpose, but Honduras says, use them or lose them, and much has been lost. Here at Banana Coast, Garifuna leaders claim their people were using their land, but they were forced to sell, under threat of eviction. The guy they blame? Randy Jorgensen.
I can't count how many times we've heard Garifuna say, well, sure, people have sold, but many of them were intimidated or tricked into selling, and the Randy project has to do with that as well, that people have been sent out to intimidate or to tell people, if they don't sell for this project, their land's going to be expropriated. Well, and again, they point the finger back to Randy Jorgensen, this figure who sits up here on his property.
There is some accuracy to that. Certainly not intimidated, but expropriation was certainly an option for the government. The government desperately wanted a mainland cruise terminal. I'd put a plan together to have one exist.
Jorgensen is a retired Canadian millionaire, made his money in adult films, came down here years ago. The guy built, owns, and operates the cruise ship pier, and this high-end housing development and resort for foreigners dubbed Little Canada.
What they say is they want to keep them the owners of their rightful land, and places like this and the port belong to them, actually, and they were illegally purchased by you.
How is that possible?
Because they say, according to Garifuna statutes and tradition, their land can never be sold.
They're foreigners, they're immigrants into Honduras.
They're foreigners here?
Yeah.
They've been here for over 200 years.
Yeah.
Well, it was granted to them by the Honduran state.
By the Honduran government.
Right.
And it depends on how you want to interpret it. What the clause says is that it's only to be used for the benefit of the Garifunas. And so selling it as a benefit to the Garifunas, does the leadership not have the right to sell it? If they do, then they do. If they don't, then they can't sell it. But obviously they've been selling it for over 100 years.
Jorgensen says the Garifuna Association, OFRANEH, is out to demonize him, even though he's the biggest employer in the region.
I would say probably on staff during cruise season, we have over 150 Garifunas working for us. When we were building the developments, we had over 300. When we were building the port, we had over 400. Mm-hmm. Those jobs didn't exist without development. Mm-hmm. What were they going to do? That port was built. Every time it rained, the people were dancing in the streets saying, God bless Randy. God bless the cruise port. This is amazing.
Nevertheless, the Garifuna took Jorgensen to court on criminal charges for the alleged illegal purchase of their land. A judge dismissed the case last year, but it remains a very sore subject.
I don't know what to say to you. If you're on a witch hunt, you need to go someplace else and look for a witch. Are we done now?
With the interview?
Yeah.
I'd like to keep talking if that's all right. Or you want to?
Well, if you're going to stick on this subject, then we're done.
What I like about Randy is the idea of bringing up tourism over here. It's good. I never thought about having a big ship right in front of my sea,
And you're glad it's coming?
I like it. I really like it, and somebody's supposed to do it. Somebody has to do it.
Francisco Chamilio was one of the hundreds of Garifuna hired by Jorgensen, but then he got caught in the crossfire. That's his term. His people elected him president of the Rio Negro Garifuna community, which tried to put Jorgensen on trial. Like Omar Lopez, Chamilio isn't sure where or when Jorgensen crossed the line.
Exactly why they mad at him? Because he bought some land.
Which land?
Somewhere over there, where he got his land.
Do you know which?
But for more information, brother,
yeah,
we had our building, the community building.
Okay.
We got those papers there. Majority of us is working with him right now. He got a lot of Garifuna with him. You know why? Because they want to have something to eat. Eat it because they agree with we Randy.
Like Jorgensen, Chamilio is feeling pretty thin-skinned and scared. People, he says, have come to town to silence them.
So listen, to tell the truth, right now we don't trust no one.
I understand.
Especially white boys.
Us.
Especially yourself. You know what I mean?
Us.
Yes, I'm gonna be real with you guys.
Yeah, good. Please.
Who can blame Chamilio? Trust is a scarce commodity here being Honduras, a place where you don't have to be Garifuna to get killed for questioning power. In Honduras' central Aguan Valley, locals say 148 land activists have been killed since 2010, mainly fighting against an invasion of these palm trees for palm oil. A decade ago, the World Bank encouraged Honduras to make structural reforms. That meant taking most of the land here from small farmers and giving it to a few big corporations. Peek above the canopy, and you see how much ground local farmers have lost. And speaking out has never been more dangerous.
La comunidad indígena llora en Honduras porque envuelta en esta manta está la activista Berta Cáceres.
In March this year, Honduras' most famous land rights activist, the woman given the Goldman Award for Environmental Bravery in 2015, was gunned down. Berta Cáceres had helped derail a dam project along the Gualcarque River. The dam would have displaced a large group of Lenca Indians. Cáceres' award was meant to shield her, like the UNESCO designation for the Garifuna. But in Honduras, such shields are as thin as the paper they're printed on.
Se han capturado 4 personas que presuntamente están vinculadas con el asesinato de la ambientalista Berta Cáceres.
Turns out 2 of Cáceres' alleged killers are soldiers. The U.S. funds the Honduran military and its police to the tune of millions of dollars a year. These institutions have a lot of blood on their hands. Cáceres' was just the latest. The U.S. has a law. It says you can't fund or assist foreign militaries implicated in human rights violations. It's called the Leahy Amendment. Yet these are U.S. soldiers preparing for a mission in Trujillo. Locals say this is a regular base of operations for the Americans. We asked, what are you guys up to? They said, no comment. But it's no secret the U.S. has hundreds of military advisors here to help Honduras battle the drug cartels, who, by the way, have done a laudable job running this country into the ground.
No se ve cómo murió.
No.
Está amarrado.
Antonio Vanegas, también colega periodista, mire, están los de la DPI, todos aquí. Sí, Héctor.
Anda un jean azul, un boxer negro, por si alguien, algún familiar va ahí.
It's a typical day for the crime reporters of San Pedro Sula, Honduras' second city, and in recent years, the world's first for homicides. The consensus among reporters here is that this was a drugs-related killing, but we may never know. Witnesses are almost always too afraid to talk. That fear makes Héctor Montoya's job tough. He covers crime for the daily paper La Prensa. His strategy: start each day where the story ends, at the morgue. You want to know how someone died, maybe why? Montoya doorsteps victims' families as they wait to claim their kin.
Buenos días. Anda reclamando algún cuerpo. ¿De quién? ¿Cómo se llamaba su pariente? ¿Por qué fue que haber sido que lo mataron, le robaron? Solo le dieron muerto. Tenía todas sus pertenencias.
No, ya.
Ah. Ok, ¿y él tenía hijos?
Tenía
3 niños.
Montoya is here each and every morning, jotting down tales of tragedy and violence. The details change, but the big picture does not. Which is why a lot of families in San Pedro never let their kids go out alone, ever.
Sus hijos tienen 12 y 15 años y nunca han salido del barrio cerrado sin permiso.
No, sin permiso no salen. Hay que estar encima de ellos. Aquí existe un grupo que le dicen la 18, al otro lado existe el grupo que le dicen la MS, al otro lado le dicen los vatos locos, hay un montón. Pero todos, en resumidas cuentas, todos son iguales.
This taxi driver, who won't give his name or show his face, calls the gangs vampires, bleeding hard-working people to death, literally and otherwise.
En ese sector hay un grupo, y ese grupo cobra, como quien dice, renta, o sea, como peaje, pues. Y si usted no paga ahí, lo que hace es que se le sube una vez, 2 veces, a decirle que paguen. Y si no pagan, entonces lo que hace es que le quitan la unidad a uno, se la queman y lo matan.
¿Por qué no denuncian todo esto?
Mire, usted para denunciar, usted tiene que poner su nombre completo, apellido, número de teléfono, dirección donde vive. Ya han habido casos que se han dado que pasen la denuncia, al siguiente día llegan en la noche y desaparecen la familia.
En Tegucigalpa, andando en drogas, en vicios, amanecía día y noche en la calle, drogándome, y hubo un caso que intervenimos con una persona enemiga, la rodeamos, la agarramos, la llevamos a un río, a un lugar apartado, solitario, de madrugada, ¿verdad? De madrugada, y en drogas pues lo hicimos, ¿verdad? Porque él andaba también, no andaba en lo correcto, entonces tuvimos que hacerlo, ¿verdad? En ese momento, aproximadamente hace 7 años.
Meet Diego, here to dispel any doubts about Honduras's culture of killings. Diego isn't his real name. Using it would probably get him killed, he says, for the things he's done. As a member of one of Honduras's most unfriendly street gangs.
¿Tu oficio era sicario aquí?
Sí, ya en Honduras, no tanto así, pero en el ambiente donde uno camina ya es por amor a la pandilla. Ya no es por sicariato, ya no es por dinero, ya no es por nada de eso, sino que simplemente ya es por lo que uno es.
Matar por amor.
Por lo que uno anda haciendo, por lo que uno pertenece.
Diego's gotten out of the gang life, found God and a rehab center, and moved far from his old stomping grounds. He's known around his new hood as just another dad. Diego says in his gangbanging days, kidnapping was all the rage. Today, it's extortion. Ordinary people have to pay gangs just to leave their houses in the morning, to go to work, or to go pick up their kids at school.
Está sucediendo en el país, ¿verdad? Y no le podemos echar la culpa solo a las pandillas, sino que aquí en Honduras es todo el mundo que está metido en eso.
Honduras's government acknowledges the rot. It's agreed to let in some outside eyes, including the U.S., to help weed out corruption. But critics say the new plan, known as Maki, has no real power. Its advisors can only advise. The bad apples will remain. Like those who stole over $100 million from Honduras's Social Security Fund. There's also the former top brass at the National Police, just implicated in the 2009 murder of the country's top anti-narcotics official. Not to mention countless other extrajudicial killings carried out by street officers, soldiers, and others. The state is trying by sidelining its own national police, known to be heavily infiltrated by gangs. Its replacement, the military. A new military police now patrols the worst city streets. In some really bad neighborhoods in San Pedro, the MPs are more occupying force than beat cop. Here in Chamelacon, heavily armed patrols roll out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Toda esta zona, estas calles, antes nadie podía caminar por acá.
¿Ah, no?
Porque lo paraban y lo mataban. Esta era una zona donde encontraba 1, 2, 3 muertos en bolsa. Este famoso de las cañeras era lo más famoso, porque como Nadie venía, era libre para venir a botar los muertos. Este lugar de Chamelecón fue la primera operación que hizo la PM. Aquí despejamos lo que son 100 casas que tenían dominio por parte de los mareros. Ahora el dominio es de la PM. Mira, ahora toda la gente, ahora hay comercio y todo. Disparaban de noche, andaban con ACAs, ahora no.
Commander Roman Gomez says murders are down since they stepped in 2 years ago. But human rights groups, they say using soldiers for policing is always a bad idea, because soldiers are trained to shoot first. Far from San Pedro, in the remote northeast of the country, the Garifuna of Iriona say that's what's happening here.
Yo soy una de las personas sobrevivientes de las balaceras que hicieron los militares el pasado 27 de diciembre, en horas de la madrugada, a unos carros playeros que viajaban para Tocó. Estoy viva porque Dios es grande, porque no es tan fácil resistir un sinnúmero de balas hacia unas personas indefensas en un playón donde no hay ningún refugio ni que nos puede amparar. No quiero ni pensarlo porque me causa llanto. Yo estoy a punto de perder mi vida con todo mi marido, dejando a mis 6 hijos y mis 8 nietos.
Maria Arsenia Batiz and other Garifunas were ambushed by a Navy patrol as they were trying to free a pickup truck stuck in the sand. 2 Garifunas died, others were wounded.
Nosotros pensábamos de que venían a defendernos, a cuidarnos. No, no vienen a cuidarnos. Vienen a matarnos.
Local authorities wouldn't speak to us about the attack, but Commander Gomez says the incident is under investigation. The Garifunas say the Navy suspected they were drug dealers. The region is rife with them, but opening fire on women and children because of a mistake or indifference, or as the Garifuna suspect, is part of a pattern in which the powerful run roughshod over the dispossessed, causing so many to flee altogether. From the killings, the fear and oppression, and the almost total certainty that you will never get justice. But where do you escape to? For the Garifunas, and for many Hondurans, it usually means heading north for the States. Millions have done it. And yet millions stay. Some even have reason to celebrate. The Inter-American Court for Human Rights recently found that Honduras has not been respecting Garifuna land for years. It's ordered the government to rectify. In theory, that would mean no more sales of Garifuna land, no more intimidation or trickery. The decision's inspiring land activists across the country, fighting everything from palm oil to developers. Even Diego, the gangbanger, a guy who was once a roaming ambassador of terror, even he believes in a better future here at home. His includes a little house he's building for his family. Staying is possible, desirable even, especially if you're Garifuna, for whom the land means everything, despite what seems at times like a losing battle.